met, I was scared.
I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me.
They were sexual fantasies of control, power, complete dominance. They became reality.
This was just get rid of it. So I went to the garage. I've got an ex.
Shh. I closed my eyes. I was crying so hard. And all of a sudden he was there.
It was the only thing that gave me any satisfaction.
I am a human being and I killed human beings.
Dead won't bother you. It's the living you're going to worry about.
Every day in South Africa, around 70 people are murdered. That's one life taken roughly every 20 minutes. For most, that number marks an ending. But for our guest tonight, it was a new beginning. He is the man who walked into a Sea Point petrol station in January 2003, bleeding, barely alive, and he said, "I don't want to die." This is Profiler Africa. I'm Paul Llewellyn, and tonight I am joined by Quinton Taylor, the sole survivor of the Sizzlers Massacre and the author of his recently published book, I Don't Want to Die. We'll be saying hello to Quinton in a little moment. But first, thanks everyone for supporting our Legal Backer Buddy campaign. Information in the link below if you want to help us out with that. Also, if you value these discussions and the content we bring you, please do like this episode, subscribe to the channel, become a channel member if you'd like to contribute some Benjamins to the cause. And thank you once again for tuning in as always. Also, if you're new to the channel, check out our various documentary series, including True Crime Room, South African Serial, and Murder on the Mind, which is currently flighting. New episodes available. It's free, so binge away, watch them, share them, enjoy. Not joined by Gerard tonight, but we do have a pretty awesome replacement, to say the least. Our guest tonight was the sole survivor of one of the country's most heinous crimes, which saw 9 men massacred in early 2003 in a house in Sea Point in Cape Town. He has spoken about his ordeal over the years. You'll find plenty of content on this channel about that case. Tonight we're going to dig even deeper. And perhaps for the first time, we're going to offer you the opportunity at home as well to pose some of your questions and comments to Quinton. So please do, we welcome you to the chat. Please do start thinking up and dropping in some of your questions and comments as we go. I'll go to those as we proceed through the show. Good evening, Quinton. How's it going? Now, when I said hello to you earlier, Quinton, you took great, and I called Quinton earlier because my power went out, and last week I had no electricity for 4 days, and so I called him earlier and I said, listen, my power's gone out again. I'm confident it's going to come back, but I'm just letting you know. And Quinton took great glee. I think it was glee. I saw glee in your face in pointing out that you don't have those problems. So I'm guessing that you're like coming to us from like Cape Town or something tonight. Quinton, how's it going?
Yeah, that's the way. That's the way. We've got no problems like that. We're actually well run municipality. Yeah.
Where do we find you? You live in Cape Town these days, Quinton?
Yeah, live in Cape Town. Live in the Helderberg area in Cape Town. So a beautiful area in Cape Town, not just Cape Town, but a gorgeous area in Cape Town. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. It's lovely for you to join us.
Thank you.
I've been meaning to have you on the show for the longest possible time. But what we did fairly recently was we played some of the past content that we shot with you. Remember, we shot an interview probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. Then last week we had Detective Jonathan Morris on the show, who you'll, I'm sure, remember well, and we spoke about the case there. And then you dropped me an email this week talking about your book, I Don't Want to Die. We're going to be talking about that tonight. I can't wait to get into it. And we'll talk a bit about the case as well, and your experience there. But I mean, I guess the place for us where I'd like to start tonight is just to kind of, where did it all start off for Quinton? I know that we both were boys of the Orange Grove area in Joburg at a certain point in the past. Where did it all start for you, Quinton?
That's the thing. Also in Orange Grove, Norwood area, basically, I was taken away from my parents at 2 and placed in the orphanage, child welfare. basically in the same area. It was actually a gorgeous area, beautiful area, run by rich Jewish people, a very Jewish area. I went to Orange Grove School as well. So it was a private school, so you'd wear civvies, not school uniform. And there were 3 different children's homes, 3 different orphanages in the area. And basically, by the time I'd entered child welfare, the whole of child welfare had actually changed from an institutional-like feeding to what they refer to as Malui therapy. So Malui therapy it's like pre-World War II houses, big gardens, nice swimming pools, and they would make the kids feel like they were actually just in a home, just normal, yeah? And so I grew up in beautiful homes. Even though, they were orphanages, they were beautiful homes. We were looked after. We always had a house mother and a house father on duty. Lots of kids, 14 boys and girls per home. So that's 14 boys, 14 girls. So it's 28 kids. So, I grew up with a lot of kids. I remember having loads of fun. Look, there were bad times, but there were also really great times. I was a naughty kid, man. I was so naughty. I'm still friends with people who worked in child welfare in the head office. I've been friends with Pepe Pickus and Mike Term for like 40 plus years.
Amazing.
It was a great experience.
Look, it was a good time. I'm guessing this was kind of late 80s, 90s. What period are we talking here? 80s, 90s?
Yeah, well, actually early 80s.
Okay.
Basically, by 80, I was already in the homes.
Oh, okay.
So it was 80s, 90s. 90s, I think somewhere in 94, I had pretty much left the home, 94, 95, just after the whole end of apartheid. Basically, that era, and I didn't grow up in that era. It was all around us for sure, but I didn't know any of that stuff because there were African kids in the homes with us. We were looked after by African mamas. They looked after us often more than the house parents could, because there were so many kids. Yeah. And so it was very interesting for me when I finally did connect with what apartheid was. I was very shocked. I was like, what the heck? Did we really do that? Was that really a thing? But it was a great experience. Orange Grove in that time was actually incredible. And like I said, I've got a lot of good memories. Like I said, we're naughty little shits, but there was also a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
So I'll never regret being in the orphanages. I had a lot of fun.
How did you come to find yourself there? I mean, and again, as we go through this conversation, obviously feel free if there's anything that you just don't feel comfortable about, just let us know. But, how did you come to be in that situation?
Well, basically my parents, they were non-wed. So I was born what would have been dubbed in the hundreds, a couple of hundred years ago, would have been a bastard. So my parents had me out of wedlock, and they had 5 other kids. And they were poor. They weren't working. So myself and my brother Simon, we were the youngest. They had 3 girls that were taken away from them as well, ultimately. But we just had a mother that was a manic depressive. She would sleep all day. So we got zero stimulation. I met my grandmother from my father's side. She was the only one that, over all the years, she actually tried to pursue me. She actually tried to take me out of child welfare. And child welfare kept on turning her down. Eventually, she did get a hold of me, but that was 2004, 2005, so many years later. And we actually met each other and we spoke a lot. That's how I got to know a lot about my family, my father and stuff, and where they came from in their background as well, and how I was born out of wedlock and stuff like that. So they were just manic depressives. They weren't up for looking after kids. And I think my as my grandmother tells it, the one day she came into our house and I'd been put in a bath by my mom and she had gone to go sleep and I was face down in the bath. So my grandmother ran in,
Sure.
Got me alive. And from that day, she actually approached child welfare and said, listen, the kids will die. If you don't take them away the kids will die. Yeah. And that was it. It was done. Yeah. We were all split up. And thus began my journey in child welfare. Yeah.
So growing up, then around the Orange Grove area. How is it that you came to find yourself in the Western Cape? Kind of paint the picture for us then between there and how you found yourself in the Western Cape in the, early 2000s.
That's it. So basically, grew up. Man, I had in my early years, I'd really had a crappy deal with people. People had just, I don't know, I had this big sign saying, just use and abuse me, hurt me as much as you can. And like, when I was 14, it finally came together for me. I finally met the Taylors, and the Taylors adopted me when I was 14. But by then I was already sacco set, so very naughty, was disowned when I was 18. I spent a year on the streets, around the Randburg area, the Randburg waterfront. And there were two brothers that worked in a stall at the Randburg waterfront, and they were going to Cape Town. And I'd never really been to Cape Town, so I thought, hey, there's nothing here for me. I'm on the streets, I've got nothing. So I went to Cape Town. I went to Cape Town with them. I had a little bit of money, and I went to Cape Town with them, and we stayed in a backpackers. We stayed in St. John's Lodge in Sea Point. And I loved it. I just fell in love with Cape Town. I was done. I was hooked. And I landed up, like, I couldn't pay my way, so I landed up becoming a handyman. Okay. So I'd work for the backpackers for my stay. I'd say, listen, whatever you need fixed, I'll fix, and I'll stay here. And they said, yeah, sure. And then I began what they call touting. I don't know if you guys remember touting. You would go to all the airports, and you would go to the train stations and the bus stations, and you'd actually literally collect people and get them before any other backpackers got them. You would have this big sign saying, okay. Yeah. And we'd just mine them. We'd just get them. And I did that for a long time as well. So, like, I've worked in Cape Town. I've probably worked in about 5 or 6 different guest houses. And then in Knysna, because I went to Knysna as well. And I mean, Knysna, I stayed there, 20 plus years, longest place I've ever lived in. And there I ran a guest house for over 10 years. So.
Okay. We're gonna I just want to say hello to some of the folks in the chat, because there's a bunch of folks jumping on, and we're already seeing some questions popping up. So good evening to Lauren. Good evening. There's Lauren. Good evening. She's joining us from a soggy Cape Town as well, from a soggy Cape as well.
Nice.
We've got Charles Barnes. We've got one of our regulars, Marius, with us. Good evening, Marius. Lovely to have you with us again. Anne, how's it going? We've got a few questions. I just wanted to say to Purple Fish, thank you very much for your contribution. We appreciate you. If you'd like to drop us a super like through the course of the show, you're welcome to do so. And here we go. Phil Walt bought your book on Amazon last night, finished reading it through early this morning, Quinton. So there you go. Making an impact already.
Thank you.
So talk to us then. So guys, please start jumping in your questions. I'll keep an eye on those as we go through. Before we get to talking about the book and all of that, tell us how you came to be at Sizzlers. What was the journey that ended up there?
Okay, so basically, so I was because I was such a naughty kid. I was adopted when I was 14. I was disowned by the time I was 18. My parents kicked me out, said, listen here, you have your own life, we have our own life, get out of our house. So I floated around again, my second time being on the streets. And that was a bad time. That was a bad one. I landed up spending some time in Paulsmoor. And then so from 18, pretty much 18 to 19. It wasn't actually that long. It was only 90 days that I was sentenced in Paulsmoor. So I was there, but during my 18th and 19th year. So basically, I hadn't seen my parents for a long time, and I wanted to come home and just break bread with them, say hi. Even though they didn't really want me there, I wanted to actually just connect with them. And I saw them many years later. I mean, it took so long because basically what had happened was once I became basically on the street there, I actually went to Knysna. I decided to go to Knysna, and I stayed in a place called a little farm area called Reenendal. And they have what's known as a transformation farm. Now I was big into my spirituality was all over the place. So I was very eclectic. So I had been introduced to witchcraft at about 18. Around about 18, and I'd fallen in love with it. I'd become a Wiccan.
Okay.
So I went to this farm, and they were there were all these Wiccans and all these warlocks and all these shamans and all that stuff. And I fell in love with the place, and I stayed there for about 10 months. And that was just before the shooting. And basically what happened was I came home that December to reconnect with my parents. I mean, I hadn't seen them for almost a decade already. So I came home, and prior to that, the owner of the transformation farm had actually made me a deal saying, listen here, I'll sell you a piece of my land where you can build your own house. Because I'd seen all these houses on his property. And he said, listen here, they pay me 10 grand. You get your own property. You can build your own house. And I thought, woo, let's do this. So my whole idea of going home was to get money from my parents. Lo and behold, Chris said, no, not going to happen. So that was that. So I was stuck in Cape Town again. And like, as much as I love my parents, I do. There's some areas that I don't love them in, but I do care about them. They were very hard people. They'd had hard lives. They'd built their lives from scratch. And they wouldn't help me get back to Knysna either. So I was like, okay, cool, but I'm stuck here now. You've got to help me. I mean, blah, blah, blah. No. So I actually was walking on the promenade that night in Sea Point, and like I'm struggling. I'm like, what the heck? I was just about to hike. I was about to start hitchhiking, and Eric Octagar, the owner of Sizzlers, Eric Octagar, he actually approached me and said, listen here, I see you walking around, you're so stressed. You can get work here. You can stay here. And I'm like, okay, cool, but what is this place and why are you giving me work? I don't know you, kind of thing. It was like very weird. It was like, dude, get away from me, but you're a weirdo. And he said, listen, you need to understand we're a massage parlor. And I said, okay, cool, but I'm not into that stuff. I don't do that stuff. I no. And he said, listen, the thing is, you can choose what you do. You can just massage. You're a straight boy. That's fine. You don't have to do anything. You're not forced to do anything. The boys that do, it's all their choice. So you can choose to give happy ending. You can choose to do whatever you want to do. But you get paid per massage, and you can stay there. You can stay in the house. I'll give you a place to sleep on, a bed to sleep on. So I thought, okay, well, cool. You know what? At first, I told him, to go get stuffed. And I walked around there for a couple of more hours. And then eventually I thought, you know what, bro? It's either this or I'm on the streets. And I don't feel like being on the streets again. It will be my third time then. So I landed up saying, yeah, sure. And for a long time, for the longest time, it was very awkward for me. Because I was allowed to sleep in one of the massage parlors. But the thing is, a lot of stuff is done in those rooms. So for me, it was crazy hard. It was actually hard. You got to clean the beds every night. It was a very weird time in my life, very strange time. Smoking a lot of weed, doing a lot of coke, and just massaging. I wasn't doing well because if you're not willing to do other stuff, you don't do well. All the little boys that were willing to do whatever, they made a lot of money. What people don't understand, though, is that there's also a lot of females that come to places like this.
Okay.
There was a lot of ladies that came there, and a lot of people would come there and they would just talk about their lives. They didn't even want sex. Some people, I learned a lot. Sexually, I saw crazy stuff. I saw some crazy stuff. I saw some of the likes that people have, the fetishes, and it definitely opened my eyes, hey? But I also I saw a lot of brokenness in people, both male and female. And sometimes they just want company. They just want somebody to talk to. Yeah. And those were interesting ones as well. A lot of times I tended to, for some odd reason, they tended to find me, the people that wanted to talk. So it was a blessing for me. I was never forced to do anything. I was never coerced to do anything. And what I chose not to do, I didn't do.
Yeah.
So that's how I found myself there, in that position. It was a crazy one.
How did Sizzlers exist in the community? What was Sea Point in that area like at that time? And how did what was Sizzlers' kind of position were people aware of it?
Man, it was rough. It was rough. You got to understand that Cape Town has been gentrified. When I was walking the streets of Cape Town from 94, 90, what? Okay, I came to probably 96, 97. Cape Town was rough. The HLK still ran the place. Gangsters were everywhere. In Sea Point, in Greenpoint, in Fresno, everywhere. They were everywhere. You could go to the 7-Eleven and you'd find a gangster saying, Vijay kind of thing. They were just everywhere. Rashid and Rashad Stahi were still a big prominent gang in Sea Point. Pagar was still running around killing everybody. There were gay boys, gay prostitutes on the main road at that time, and women. I mean, it was just, you couldn't walk down Sea Point or Greenpoint without being bombarded by 20 females and 20 males. It was insane. It was a different time. Like I said, Cape Town, people don't know Cape Town. Cape Town is gentrified compared to what it was. It was rough. And so as somebody doing the flesh trade, you didn't want to do it on the streets. At that stage, at a stage, boys were being picked up and they were being killed, and they would be being dumped in the bushes on Beach Road, right by the promenade. They were being dumped in the bushes. So everybody wanted to be a part of a parlor. Everybody wanted to be joined to a house. You didn't want to be on yourself. It was just too dangerous. Even the guys that would partner up with their mate, and they would get a flatlet, and they would do it from home privately. Even a lot of them were killed. So like, everything's changed sexually as well. You can't find, like, you won't find massage parlors anymore. You won't find them around Sea Point anymore. They're just gone. They're all gone. After what happened with Sizzlers, it all changed. Everything changed in that way. You don't find them anymore. So, and like I said, Cape Town's been gentrified. So you don't find all the prostitutes around anymore. You just don't find it. Sea Point, Greenpoint, they've become very upmarket, very nice place. I mean, it's right by the sea.
Yeah.
And it has pumped a lot of money into those areas, into making them good. So all that stuff is gone. You don't find gangsters running around anymore. It's very different. The Nigerians used to be on every street corner. When I was around, Sea Point was very different. Very, like, next level.
And let's talk. There were 10 of you in the house when this incident happened. And I'm going to kind of mention the names of some of the guys in a moment, because I do always I think it's important that we remember, we often get focused on the names of the perpetrators in these kinds of instances. So I think we'll remind ourselves who the victims were of the Sizzlers Massacre in a moment. Sure. But where did was it a permanent group of young men there and boys? What was the age range? And did boys come and go? Did men come and go? Of the 10 of you, was that kind of like that was the group that was living in the house at the time?
At that time, yeah. But you see, the thing is, so Eric had a very strict
guest. There was one guest. Sorry.
There was one guest, yes.
Yeah.
There was one guest, the owner, and 8 boys. Yeah. So basically, Eric had a very strict rule. He said, listen here, don't do drugs on my property. You do drugs, you're fired straight. I catch you doing any kind of drug, you are fired. Whether it be dacha or whether it be heroin, you're fired. So what happened was, a lot of boys came through the house, a lot of boys over the time, because when you're doing those things, it breaks you psychologically. I don't care what anybody says. It breaks you psychologically to have to do those things. So your escapism at that stage then is coke, is heroin, is cannabis, is being an alcoholic. So a lot of boys were fired because of that over the years. But at that stage, that group was basically a core group. And you talk about the youngest. The youngest was 17. The youngest lied about his age. He told everybody he was 19. He was 17. He was a 17-year-old little boy. I actually met his dad in the court case, and his dad was broken. His dad was a broken man. He had to drive through the Namakwaland with his son's body on the back of his bakkie to go bury him at home. 17-year-old boy. Some of them were in Catholic choirs. Sergio de Castro. He was a Catholic. So, I mean, these are all boys that had their own. Warren Fisser, I know his sister, Lee Fisser. We were actually very good friends. So each one had their own life, and each one had their own story as to why they were doing what they were doing. And when you realize it and when you understand that, you don't judge anybody because you don't know their story. sometimes they get out of a worse situation into this situation, and this situation is all they know. It's either this or it's the streets. And if you've been on the streets, trust me when I tell you, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy here. Because very, very, very seldom do you ever find your way back from that. Very seldom.
Yeah. Well, the men that lost their lives that night were Warren Visser, Aubrey Otgar, Sergio de Castro, Stephanus Fouché, Johan Meyer, Gregory Berghaus, Travis Reed, Timothy Boyd, and Marius Meyer. I mean, you had relationships, the friendships with these guys. I mean, that was, talk to us a little bit about just the interpersonal dynamics amongst you. What was it like living with the guys? What were the,
It's a cutthroat business, you get because there was all types there. There was straight boys, there was bisexual boys, and then there was gay boys, full on gay. And so there was a lot of drama in the house, especially from the gay guys that did very, very well. And like I said, we all had our own little things, and we'd sit around the table before day began, before the work hours began, before all the clients came in. And we'd talk and we'd get to know each other and either argue or fight or whatever. And some boys got hurt by clients, So if you went to a fishbowl, which is what they called it, a fishbowl. So if you had come out of a fishbowl and you were in a bad state, the boys would surround you and they would encourage you. They would, help you. So it becomes like a little makeshift family. And there were lots of good things. I mean, we'd go out with each other. We'd go for drinks. Like I said, it becomes like a makeshift family.
Yeah.
The boy you're talking about, Stephanus Fouché, he was the 17-year-old. He was the young boy, and he and I were actually very close. Even Warren Visser, also a young guy, and like his family didn't even know. His family had no idea. Eric, like I said, Eric was the owner, and then you got Sergio, also a very pretty boy. He was with the customer that night. He was the one that was actually with the customer. None of us were. We were all just watching the Broken Hearts Club. That was the movie we were watching that day.
Okay.
That's the music. Yeah, that's the music you hear in the background. Was from the Broken Hearts Club. That was the movie we were watching.
Yeah, we'll get to some of that footage. I did check with you that you're okay for us to look at some of that, and we'll look at some of that in a little while. I just want to go to some of the chat quick before we carry on. So, just a quick question for Quinton: did you ever look for your siblings when you left the childcare system? Yeah, sorry.
No.
Have you ever reconnected with any of your siblings? Okay, is that something that is?
No. Look. I know a lot of people say how they want to reconnect with their siblings and stuff, and that's great. I'm really happy for them, and that's all the power to them. But for me, for my personal journey, that wasn't it. I had 3 sisters that were, me and my brother were light lummakies. We were very light lummakies. By the time we were born, my sisters were already in their late 20s, early 30s. Okay. And I've never reconnected with them. And my brother, I've never reconnected. I've heard about him. I heard about him from my grandmother's side when I met my grandmother, and none of it was positive. So I didn't want to meet him. His name's Simon. He's a year younger than me, so I'm the oldest of the boys. But I'm just not interested. They've never looked for me either.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's fair enough. Never say never, but I think that certainly answers the question. Please tell Quinton Kerry says hi. It's our queens of story time.
Hey, Kerry.
Kerry says hi. Prof Plum says, so happy to hear you finished your book. Can't wait to read it. Hey, Quinton, Errol here, not using my personal YouTube, but my channel. Nice to see you on a live and proud of you for publishing your book. Lots of love.
Thanks, Errol.
Prof Plum says, I used to go to Tafelberg School in the main road and actually walk past the house daily to go to smoke at the beach. Happened to walk past on the morning it happened. Been interested since then. Okay, so guys, lovely to have everyone joining the chat. Please do continue to comment and drop some questions. I'll keep an eye on that. Just your routine, the routine of the day, and what were the kind of rules and regulations of the house? Was there security? Were there lots of people in? I mean, I gather that there was a lot of people in and out. Or were there processes or procedures or anything?
There was no security. Basically, I could choose at that stage that I'd actually started working for Sizzlers. I was actually staying in I'd like joined, I'd made a little bit of money, and then I'd actually gone into a backpackers. So because I couldn't sleep there every night because like I said, it was in the massage studios, and for me that was strange. It was hard. I couldn't sleep at all. I've always been a very spiritually inclined person, whether it be bad or good. I've always been very spiritually aware, and because of that, I didn't feel normal. It felt weird. So I wouldn't sleep there every night. I'd sleep there maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So they had rooms, they had beds. You'll see in your footage that you have, they had beds in some of the rooms. There was no security at all. And basically, if you were on shift, you would start like 8 o'clock in the morning, and you could work right through till the other morning, till the end of the morning, and then you could have a day off if you wanted to, or have the afternoon off. You could work as much as you wanted to work. It all depended on how much money you want to make. And some of the boys wanted to make money. They were big money makers, and they would work for days. They would work for days, no breaks, period. It all depended on you as the person. Some of the boys, they weren't willing to do that to themselves. It all depended. It all depended. Yeah.
And were like a regular client base mostly, or was it a mix? Or
yeah, there were a lot of regulars. So like, if you would know immediately when a person walked in, you would know immediately because they would say, "Listen, yeah, we want that boy," because they knew that boy. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were willing to do. Now and then you would get people that would choose new boys, but generally you had your regulars. So it would be good. It was very good. It was very how can I say, it was encouraged to build up a regular clientele basis for each boy. So you had to be very careful what you did because people are finicky. If you had a bad day, you couldn't show it because you would lose clients. Clients don't put up with that because they're paying for a service. So if you're unable or incapable of performing that service that day, there's no loyalty there. Loyalty is a fickle thing. So if you mess up, they just go for another boy. So you were very, very much encouraged to build up a regular basis.
And were there incidents? I mean, I guess in a place like this, you'll find, people with their issues and their challenges, and were there fights, were there arguments, were there things that you kind of had to deal with, and how were things like that dealt with?
For sure. I mean, like I said, there was a lot of drama. I mean, you got to understand. It's it's a house full of boys. It's a house full of young boys, and a lot of them are taking drugs some of the time. In fact, most of the time. So there was a lot of cases where boys would smack other boys, or there've even been cases where customers have been violent towards the boy. And what happens then is they don't only get kicked out, the other boys will come in and smack him and drag him out. So you're always protected in that environment, which is again why I told you at that time you wanted to be a part of a house. You didn't want to be on the streets doing it yourself because you had nobody to back you, nobody to protect you. In these massage parlors, that's why they were so big, and that's why they were so popular. Like all of them, like Nights and all of them, is because they were protected. The boys were protected. That was the biggest thing at that stage, is protection. So yeah, there was a lot of incidences, but it never went too far.
Okay. All right. Before we get into the detail, I just want to get a sense of. It's obviously a major. I would imagine the major event of your life. Do you see it? Do you think of yourself as Quinton before and Quinton after? And what is when you reflect back on Quinton before, who was Quinton before compared to Quinton after?
Sure. Now you're asking me a thing. That's deep, man. That's pretty deep. Wow. Okay, so you need to understand any head trauma, any kind of head trauma like an accident or being shot, your personality changes. Now, it can either change for the positive or it can change for the negative. It depends on you as the person. Are you a victor or are you a victim? What kind of mentality do you have? I'm very lucky in the fact that I'm a victor. I believe in victory. I'm an alpha. I'll always be an alpha. And so I didn't become broken by this experience. It actually catapulted me further and made me more of a person, this experience, where a lot of people become broken from an experience like this. So you ask the difference, wow, on every level. I mean, the way I think, the way I see things, like my whole motto in my own life is that I'm a fear killer. I eat fear and I crap it out. I don't do fear in others. I don't do it well. I can smell fear in others. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy being in an environment that's got fear inside of it. And I always try and encourage people. And that's what my book is there for as well, is to encourage people and to motivate them and to show them that no matter what life throws at you, you can actually be a victor in life, not a victim, but a victor. And you can walk in victory. You can walk in freedom. I have freedom. I have no fear. I don't fear everything. I don't look behind every single corner for somebody that's going to shoot me. I don't do that. I don't walk that way. So I'm very privileged in the fact that I have complete freedom. I'm not, by God's grace and mercy, I'm not retarded from the shooting. Remember, you got to understand, it was 2 headshots, a 9mm and a .22. That's unheard of. It's not normal because a .22 bounces around your body, it kills everything. It's designed that way. A 9mm takes your head clean off almost. So none of them hit my brain, not one of them. One shattered my jaw sitting over here, and the other went around my scalp, went around and sat on my neck. Sure. So I'm thankful I'm not a vegetable, I'm not a retarded, I'm not stupid. It could have been way worse. So how things have changed, you ask me? I'm thankful and I'm grateful every single day. I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful that, like I said, this has catapulted me into something. I've been able to write a book from it. Exactly. I always think to myself what I would have become if this had never happened. I'm grateful, to be honest with you. Like a lot of people don't fully understand this, and I don't expect them to. But people that have been hurt in life, they'll understand this. I'm actually grateful for the experience because it's created more. It's made me more somehow. It's made me more powerful as a person. I can handle more now. I can deal with more. And I'm not fear-based. I'm not fear-ridden.
Okay.
And I can handle anything that life throws at me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more detail about about the actual incident and your memories of the day and what exactly happened. But first,
in a country where 83 people are murdered every day, knowing the minds of killers isn't curiosity, it's survival. Subscribe to Profiler Africa now. It's free, or become a member and help keep the channel alive. Remember, trust nobody.
Okay, so guys, please do continue to drop your comments and questions for Quinton into the chat. We've got a few piling up here. Do, if you enjoy these conversations, please do like the episode and do subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share with your friends wherever you're listening, whether it be on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever your preferred platform is. Okay, Quinton, we're going to talk a little bit about the incident now and what happened on the day. And let's start right from that morning. What I'll do is I'll start dropping in some of the footage from the crime scene as well, which was filmed on the night by police. You can hear the detectives' voices in the background. You can hear the music playing in the background. I'll drop some of that in as we go, and we can maybe speak to some of that and talk us a little through it. But yeah, tell us how that day began.
It began with me sitting on a top bunk, mulling weed for joints, basically. We were actually supposed to have the day off, like the whole house. What we were going to do is clean and just watch movies. I think it was a Sunday that this actually happened on, yeah? If my memory serves me correct. And we had gotten the movie, The Broken Hearts Club, and I was just cleaning weed on the top bed, just rolling joints for all my friends. That's all I was doing, and yeah, that's all I'd been doing that whole day, is just smoking weed and watching movies. And we'd cleaned the house a little bit, and when Trevor and what's the other one again? When Trevor and Adam actually walked in, and they bought their guns, and I was sitting on the top bunk, still rolling joints. So that was my day. My day was a lazy day that day.
What were there? So there was just the odd client coming in and out, because there was one guest in that one client in the house at the time. Okay.
There was only one, and he came in like probably about an hour, not even an hour, probably about a half an hour before Adam and Trevor actually came in. He was the only customer that day. There weren't any others. It was, like I said, it was a lazy day. Eric was actually turning people away that day. We had decided that we were actually going to have a day off just for us. We were just going to chill. And Eric had said, yeah, that's what we're going to do. The only reason why the customer actually got in, because the customer was a regular of Sergio's. And Sergio had asked Eric, listen, let me do him, because he'll get angry. He's a wealthy man. He's one of my regulars. He gives me a lot of money. He's going to get angry. And this guy was married. So he wanted to have a quickie and then go. But other than that, none of us were working that day. Okay. None of us.
So what time did they enter then? What time did this all start, roughly?
I think like 5-ish, 6-ish in the afternoon. It was like late afternoon, early evening, because they spent about 3 hours there. They spent about 3 hours. The crazy stuff happened there, but yeah, it was about late afternoon.
Okay. So talk us through what, from when they came in. I'm going to drop in some of them. Yeah.
Okay, so basically you can see it's dark there. Basically they came in and they came in under the guise of being customers. And by the time Sergio had taken his customer into the room, a couple of the other boys said, yo, we also want customers, we also want to make money. So we were all again then open to actually doing some work tonight, although that was not the initial plan. So when these two guys came in, they'd been there before. Trevor he had driven us around before. He was actually a taxi driver. So he had actually driven us around before. So we actually let him in, and then Adam worked at 34 Degrees South at the waterfront, Key 4. He worked at Key 4 at the waterfront. Key 4. And so we let them in, and we didn't even have a chance to do a fishbowl or anything. I mean, these guys just came in with their guns cocked and said, listen, everybody on the floor, this is a robbery. And then they put us in a circle, tied us all down, and I refused to lie on my stomach. Everybody got into basically like a horseshoe, and everybody was on their stomach with their arms and their feet tied up with nylon rope. And I tuned out, screw you, bro. I'm on my back. I want to see what's going on. And for some odd reason, they actually allowed me to. So I watched them for 3 hours. That's why it was so easy for me to point them out in the lineup, for example, because they tried to confuse me. It never worked because I knew who they were. So it was obviously done for a reason. So I watched everything.
So were they masked when they came in?
No.
So
no better gloves.
So you knew.
We knew them within an hour.
So you knew who it was immediately.
Yeah, we knew. That's why the client fought back. He got pistol whipped. He got shot in the gut and then in the head. Eric fought back. A couple of us younger boys tried to fight back. Eric fought back. He got stabbed. Before he ever got shot, Eric was stabbed. He was stabbed probably about 10 or 11 times.
So how early on was this, though? So you say this went on. So 3 hours total. Just keep us in track with kind of the timeline of when these things are happening.
About 2 hours into it. So about 2 hours into the 3 hour timeline, we had already known. I mean, we had known from the beginning because they didn't wear balaclavas. We're not retards.
Okay.
So we would speak amongst each other and say, listen here, boys, we need to jump these odds. There's 2 of them, 10 of us, bro. Well, actually 8 of us. Because Sergio and the customer were actually in the room. They weren't found out till about an hour and a half into the whole thing because they made a noise because Sergio came out for oil.
Okay.
And then they found them. But before that, it was...
And you were all in that first room we saw in the front room. And so for the first... So when they came in, did they tie you up immediately? I mean, did they kind of take control? And did they have a plan? Did they bring those materials with them for tying you up? I mean, did it feel like they had an idea of what they were going to do in those first moments?
They wanted money. They came in like when they were taken through to the studio, one of the boys came back and said, yeah, there are two guys here. And before we even knew what was going on, the two were in the room having their guns cocked, saying, listen, yeah, this is a robbery. Everybody give us your wallets, your phones, everything. I was still on the top bunk mulling weed. I was still cleaning weed. And they saw me on the top bunk and they said, get your ass down here. They took all the chairs away and they put us all in a horseshoe on the floor, put socks in our mouth, and tied us back with nylon rope in the first room. They didn't go to any of the other rooms. They actually told Eric straight, listen, yeah, this is a robbery, we want money. And then I later found out that they had been told this by a disgruntled employee that Eric had fired for using heroin on his property. And this guy, disgruntled, went to Saul's Saloon in Sea Point, and he bitched and moaned. And Adam and Trevor were actually sitting at the bar, and they were listening to this guy, and they knew the place because, like I said, Trevor had actually driven us to other clients. He was actually a taxi driver. Adam lived like literally over the road from us, so he knew of Sizzlers. So that's why they were there. They were there for the money. They were told, or they were led to believe, that at any given time Eric had 300,000 rand on the property, which is the biggest load of rubbish.
Okay.
Because he was a meticulous banker, so every Sunday he would bank everything in the morning. It was already done in the morning. So they kept on saying, listen, where's your safe? Where's your safe? Where's your safe? Where's the money? Where's the money? So yeah, they had a plan from the beginning. They bought the knives. They bought the petrol that they doused us with. Because basically they first tied us up, then they asked questions, and then after Eric tried to escape, like I said, this is about 2 hours into the whole thing. After Eric tried to escape, they stabbed him. They slit his throat. Then they came to everybody because we all got slit throats. I got my throat slit from ear to ear. So they slit our throats first, not deep enough for us to bleed out. Some of the boys, it was bad. I had to hold my neck. I had to hold my throat. So it was serrated knives.
So after he tried to escape and they attacked him, they were slitting your throats. That was, they were killing all of you one by one.
They were peeved. They were peeved that Eric tried to escape. So they wanted to make an example. So they stabbed him and then they slit his throat. Then they slit everybody's throats. And they said, listen, yeah, don't try that again, bro. And then one of the customer also got out because they were they were found out, but they were put in a different room. They were kept in a different room. They weren't in the same room as us, even though they were tied up. And he also escaped. And then they pistol whipped him. They shot him in the guts. They shot him in the head. Then they came through and they doused everybody with petrol. And they said, okay, cool, we're going to burn you now. We're going to burn you alive.
Sure.
Because we still don't have the money. Eric's not cooperating. Now we're going to burn you. So we were all like, what the heck, bro? So they locked the door. There was all scare tactics. They didn't do anything. They just doused us. And they locked us in there for a good while. And then something happened. As far as I know, the owner, the client who fought back and who ran away and got pistol whipped, he got shot in the gut first. And he didn't die. He was in the hallway. And then they came and they shot him in the head. When they shot him in the head, they came and they shot everybody.
Okay.
So and then they ran, but what they did is they left the security gate open. If they had locked the security gate, I would have bled out. So
from the first escape attempt to the shooting, what was that time period? That all happened quickly?
That was about an hour, hey?
Oh, about
because
an
what
hour.
happened was, Eric tried to escape first. Eric got stabbed, and we all had our throats slit. Then we were doused in petrol. The door was locked for about half an hour, even 40 minutes, maybe even longer. Then the second escape happened with Sergio's customer, the customer. He tried to escape. He got pistol whipped, and then he got shot in the gut. They thought he was obviously dead. And then a little while later, probably 10, 15 minutes, he obviously was moving or crawling and stuff, and they shot him in the head. We heard another shot. So when that happened, they immediately went to the room, shot Sergio, came through, shot all of us.
That
was about an hour period.
Okay. I mean, what is that? what is that like? That moment. I mean, you're on your back, and I've from the first time we spoke, I've always understood that a part of the reason that you may well have survived this night was the fact that you were on your back. Just the trajectory of the bullet, where they how they shot you,
Look, I mean, it's interesting because, like, I'm a man of God. Like I told you earlier on, I always have been spiritually inclined. I've always been spiritually aware. I gave my life to God when I was 6. Stuff happened. I left the church for many years. I rededicated my life after the shooting in 2004. So parts of me understand that there is a physical aspect to it, that because I lay on my back, the bullet somehow didn't make its intended trajectory. But I also like to believe in a spiritual aspect, and I believe in it very strongly. I believe in it 100%, that God was there that night. You need to understand the dynamics on it. That night, I was still like heavily into witchcraft. I was still a full-on Wiccan. But just before I was shot, like literally like a couple of seconds before I was shot, I didn't say a Wiccan prayer or a Wiccan chant or a Buddhist chant or a Hare Krishna chant. I said a Christian prayer, and God answered me. So I will always believe, that God had something to do with it. I know for a fact. It's why I'm not retarded. It's why I'm not brain dead. It's why I'm not a vegetable. Yes, physically, there are aspects that allow me to believe that it was a good idea to lie on my back.
Yeah.
First of all, so that I could see them. So when all of this came to a loggerhead, I could point them out and know them immediately. Secondly, because it may have lessened the impact to a degree. However, my jaw was still shattered. They still had to rebuild my whole jaw. I still had a big hole in my head. They had to cut. Half my head was shaved. You can see. I mean, it's done some stuff to my scalp. So I had a big hole, and the bullet went around. That's not normal. Either way, from either point, whether I was on my back or whether I was on my stomach, that bullet should have gone through my brain. It didn't. It literally went through the skull, and somehow it traveled around. Instead of going into the brain, it traveled around the brain and sat in my spine. I should have been a quadriplegic, never mind a paraplegic.
Yeah.
But I should have been a quadriplegic. It missed my spine by millimeters. So I believe in the divine aspect as well, very much. I know a lot of people don't want to believe that. That's fine. That's their thing. Mine is, I do believe in it. But yeah, there is a small physical aspect as well. I believe that God knew exactly what was going to happen long before it did, and got me to actually fight for myself and actually say, listen, yeah, screw you. I'm on my back. I'm not going to just take it like a twat lying down, because I believe that not seeing it, I believe that that's worse. So
Yeah.
I believe that lying on your stomach.
This is what something that stuck with me in our previous conversation was, you said that you wanted to see them come in. You wanted to know when you were going to die. You didn't want it to just come out of the blue. And I can understand that. In such an uncontrolled situation, you want to cling to whatever you can do just to claw back a little bit of that control for yourself. All right, so sure. I mean, are you aware at the time of what an insanely fucked up situation you're in? I mean, are you thinking, as you're going, are you like the gravity of it, the scale of it? Was there an awareness of that? That this is like, this is madness. This doesn't happen. This is not a story that's happened since, really. I mean, in this manner, I guess there are some incidents similar, but
at the time I had no understanding. I mean, I still think about it quite a lot. I'm very lucky in the fact that I don't have any nightmares. I don't have any flashbacks. It's crazy. It's strange. I don't really think about it in that way. I'm not really, I don't wake up in cold sweats and fear and, but at that time I had no clue about the gravity of what it actually was.
Yeah.
I just knew that something had happened, and I knew that for my own self and for my peace of mind, these guys needed to be caught, and I needed to have closure. I think it would have been a lot harder if I'd never ever had closure.
Yeah.
But now looking back at it, it was a crazy situation. But like I said, it's propelled me. It's propelled me further. It's made me more. So I'm thankful for it. And like I said, I don't have flashbacks. I don't walk in fear and stuff. So
Yeah. From a motives point of view, obviously they came in looking to rob the place. I do want to just consider what the kind of attitudes were towards homosexuality at the time as well, and in that part of the world, and possibly any other motives that might
Yes.
you subsequently or that you at the time might have thought were at play there.
Yes, there was another motive. So I'm sure you've heard of this. I would be surprised if you hadn't heard of this. But Adam's girlfriend left him for another woman. So there was also that in play. So there was yes, the motive, yes, that's him, yes. His woman left him for another woman. So he was shameful. He was dumped so his chick could get another woman. So I think that would break any guy. So yes, the initial motive was theft. The initial motive was money, but there was also some kind of hatred as well, because of what his girlfriend had just done to him.
Okay.
So yeah, there was that motive as well. I know that in the beginning, a lot of the people from the GLA said, "Oh, it was gangsters," and oh no, it wasn't. It was just two twats that were retards. That one was a taxi driver, one worked at Key 4 in the waterfront. Just sick people that were willing to actually rob people that they thought that they wouldn't. There's obviously no fight there because it's a gay massage parlor, so they can get away with it easily. And that was the thought behind it. And like I said, the fact that Adam Vush's woman had left him for another woman, that's rough. Man. That's rough for any guy to.
Do you think that they intended that they were going to kill everyone when they walked in the door, or did the situation just get out of control for them?
No, they intended to kill everybody. If you walk into a place that you're robbing, and there are 10 people or 5 people or 20 people, and you walk in without balaclavas so that people can see your identity, I guarantee you they're not there to keep you alive. They're going to kill you. It's human nature. They're scared of being caught. They're going to kill you. If they walked in with balaclavas, obviously they wouldn't have gotten in. Irony is that when they ran out, they actually put their balaclavas on then. Too late. But when they ran out after everything, they put their balaclavas on. But by then, like I said, the damage was done. But we all knew that we were going to die. We all knew. Sturgeon and them. Sure. Yeah, you see, they bought all that stuff. So like the knife that you saw there, that wasn't our knife. We didn't have a knife like that. The smoking that you see, that was because of Adam and Trevor, the nervousness of it all. They were both wired. The night of this whole thing, they had been doing lots of drugs. That was one of the studios where the massages happen. Like I said, it's a very strange environment. Try and sleep in one of those rooms, and it's very hard to sleep in one of those rooms. It was crazy.
Reminds me a little bit of what mortuaries look like, where they do. To be honest with you, I just want to take some comments. We're getting some lovely comments coming through. We've got. Okay, let's go. Does the book go into more details about the victims and the types of people they were? We'll talk in more detail about the book in a moment. I don't know if you just want to comment on that. Do you speak about the guy? Let's park talking about the book and let's just get a couple of comments. Hello from Vancouver, Canada. My first time catching the show live. I hope to get my hands on the book. Hopefully, is it available overseas? I'm sure it's available locally. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon.com and Amazon.uk. It's a paperback, hardcover, and ebook. So it's all free. And yeah, I go into detail. I write the book as a first person present experience, so the reader actually feels what I'm feeling. That was the whole point. So that the reader gets into it, so that the reader can also see our fears and connect with us as people.
Okay.
So yeah.
Would love to know if the killers were clients. Were they clients? I mean, I know that you were aware of them. You knew who they were, but
No, they weren't clients.
Okay.
One of them was a taxi driver, Trevor, who would sometimes take us to clients. The other, Adam, lived over the road from us. We knew him, but only as a friend. He had never come in as a client before. No, none of them were clients.
Okay. Lucano, thank you for sharing such a difficult journey. I know, and I'm so glad you've completed your book. Hi there, Quinton. Where did you go in the immediate aftermath of the tragedy? I mean, after you came out of hospital, we'll talk about that as well. I recommend Nicole Engel. Oh, yes, this is a good mention as well. I can really recommend Nicole Engelbrecht's book about the Sizzlers Massacre as well. We love Nicole and we love True Crime South Africa here at Profiler and the work that she does there, that side. Were you involved? Did you assist Nicole with the writing of her book?
I actually helped her. We actually friends. We're actually Facebook friends and we actually WhatsApp friends as well. We've been friends for a long time. I actually gave her the okay to write the book because she knew that I'm writing my own book. So I didn't want her to take away from my own book. So hers is more of a true crime, impersonal look at the book, look at the Sizzlers Massacre. Mine is more a personal soul survivor story. So it's very different. There are very different aspects to it. Mine is way more personal. Hers is more, it's true crime. And she's brilliant. Don't misunderstand. I have a book. She actually gave me a copy. She's actually brilliant. But like I said, mine is a different read. Mine is a story where you actually connect with each individual and where you actually can see what it is to be in that kind of situation. It also explains my life before the Sizzlers as well. My book is not just about Sizzlers. It's about my whole life leading up to Sizzlers. So it's my whole story.
Okay.
So it's way more personal.
I just want to say we lost sound a little bit while the videos were playing there, so apologies to that, but that'll only be for the live. I'll make sure that's sorted so as soon as you tune in after the show, that little moment of just losing a bit of audio will be gone. Some of the gremlins we experience, apologies for that. Okay, so this has happened to you. You've been murdered. Essentially, for all intents and purposes, these guys think that they've done the job. They've, I gather, legged it out the front door, and then what? You wake up.
Yeah, that was crazy. So basically, again, they did all of this after the shooting. They ran, they bolted, they put on their balaclavas, got into their red BMW, and bolted. I woke up probably about half an hour later, 40 minutes later, maybe. And like I said, the security gate was still open. So I walked through the house. I wanted to see what I looked like because I was really worried, like I was like going to be grotesque or something. So I walked to the bathroom, saw the body in the bathroom of the client that was dead. And I looked in the mirror and I saw that my throat was cut and it was just blood everywhere. And then I saw my jaw. I couldn't open my jaw. My jaw was so sore. And I was just sitting like on the side of my face. And I walked through the house, walked out the door, walked around the block, walked to the petrol station, and I was just bleeding everywhere. I walked over the road. I don't even remember that part that well. I remember being in the garage, asking them to call the cops and then passing out. Waking up in the ambulance and the cops saying, "Listen, where is the address? Where are you taking us?" And I'm like, Graham Road, Sizzlers. And they already knew what Sizzlers was. So they connected immediately. Oh, okay, cool, we know that place. I remember in the ambulance, me throwing up like green bile and one of the captains actually taking off his jacket. That's why I remember it, because I can't believe that one of the police captains actually took off his jacket and wiped up green bile. And it's like, dude, why, what the heck? So, and they kept on asking me questions, keeping me awake in the ambulance so that, you don't die, because a lot of people that are non-interactive, they die. Most of them die. So they were keeping me awake that way, I guess, obviously.
So you briefly mentioned earlier that you were thankful that they'd left the door open, the front door open.
Yeah. If they hadn't, I would have bled out. I was bleeding everywhere. Like my throat was cut deep. I mean, my whole throat, it was the whole throat. It was the whole way. And it was deep. The knives were serrated. So it was deep. And I had to hold my throat while I was walking to the garage. So there was blood everywhere. So when I looked in the mirror, I was terrified. I even of what I looked like. I was like, what the heck, bro? What has happened to me? What have they done to me?
Yeah.
I had this big hole here, and my jaw was to one side.
Had you ever seen Had you ever seen violence at this kind of level
Not
before?
like that.
Had you ever seen a dead body? Had you ever witnessed anything even remotely close to it?
I have witnessed death. When I was a kid in the home, 2 of the girls in the home, they actually jumped off the police flats in Norwood. So they were friends of mine. Their brother also committed suicide. So I've seen death in that way. And I've been to funerals. I think the first funeral I ever went to, I was a young kid. One of my friends had also committed suicide. So I've had a lot of friends commit suicide. I've had people, even when I was in the Sizzlers, 2 of the people that had become my friends had OD'd on heroin. So I've seen death in that way, but not this close up. No, not this close up.
Okay, and what was your experience of the reaction of law enforcement and the paramedics, kind of from that point forward?
Look, Inspector Jonathan Morris was incredible, absolutely fantastic. He had my back the whole time. One of the policemen, I don't remember who he is, one of the policemen actually thought that I did it. He was like, how can you survive such a horrible crime?
Yeah.
And like, it was so cool because Inspector Morris actually said, listen, shut up. Actually told him to shut up. I just laughed. Told him, shut up. He's going to shoot himself twice in the head. Come on now. So Jonathan Morris was incredible, basically, while I was in the hospital. And I was in the hospital for quite a while. He would come and buy me Coke and cigarettes, and we'd talk for like 5 minutes, and then I'd pass out. So he was with me the whole time. And then when I was stronger, he took me to all the police stations all throughout Cape Town, Bishop Lavis, Sea Point, all those areas. And it was in Sea Point that I actually found a picture of Trevor, who had stolen his brother's BMW 10 years prior to this whole incident. And because of that, they had actually had him on record. If that had never happened, it was crazy. If that had never happened, he would have never been caught. So, and I knew by the eyes, and also the fact that I'd watched him for 3 hours. So I got to know them pretty well. I got to watch, because I watched everything. I saw everything.
What was the dynamic? While we're there, what was the dynamic? We'll carry on, and then I'll ask you the question. Sorry, carry on.
So basically, while they were there, while I was watching this thing, and we go to Sea Point, and Inspector Jonathan Morris shows me this book of these criminals, and I'm looking through this, and I see, well, that's him. And they're like, you sure? And I'm like, that's him. You can see the same eyes. He had aged a bit, obviously, because it was 10 years previous. 10 years prior to this whole incident happening. And like, that's him. So Jonathan Morris, from then on, the case to catch them was very, like, literally within a few days.
Yeah.
Because Trevor gave up Adam. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, we had Detective Jonathan Morris retired on the show last week, talking about his book Confessor Cop. So do get your hands, folks, on that one. Support our local true crime community and our former amazing officers. I mean, what an incredible cop! What an incredible career he had. Started off in the early days when things were a little bit rough and tumble, and chilled out over the years, and turned out to be one of our top cops. And we mentioned we must. When was the last time you spoke with Detective Morris?
Wow.
Jonathan?
The last time I spoke with Detective Jonathan Morris was just after the court case. Was after everything had happened. After I was now back at my parents' house in Muizenberg in Cape Town, and I was there only for a couple of weeks. My parents didn't want me there because they were terrified still. They were like, they were on a hyper alert. They were like, dude, somebody can come kill us. And I'm like, they've been caught, they've been sentenced, what the heck's wrong with you? We had Jonathan Morris over for dinner, and my dad made like his famous sponge pudding, and we had some Chinese noodles and stuff. That was the last time I saw Jonathan Morris, yeah? So it's been a long time now. It's been like 20 odd years, a long time.
Well, you're both in Cape Town. Maybe it's coming time to reconnect, eh?
Yeah, definitely, sure.
That would be nice. All right, so okay, so we've gotten to the point that now you've managed to point out who the bad guys are, and the cops have gone and arrested. What was your involvement from that point forward in the case? And tell us a little bit about what your recovery was like as well.
Okay, so basically Jonathan Morris was, like I said, he was instrumental. So he would come glean information from me every day, bribe me with some coke, some cigarettes, and then he would take me to all the cop shops after this had happened. And basically, he was just with me the whole way. So he was also with me now and then in witness protection. So witness protection was hard, because it was 13 months of me being completely alone. I couldn't see my parents, couldn't see anybody. I couldn't leave the witness protection place at all. Because a couple of months prior to my whole case, they had followed a witness back to the place. This place was called Damas. It was called Damas. And they'd followed some case, and they'd followed a witness, his parents, they'd followed him back to this place, and they'd wiped out everybody. So by the time I got to witness protection, there was no visitation. You weren't allowed to visit anybody. It was strict. So for the 13 months, it was dark, man. I mean, like I said, I was still practicing Wicca, and I was living, the Damas, the owners were Christian. So like, I feel so bad for them having this kid there, because like, I was rough still. I mean, I hadn't given my life to God yet. I had no clue. So I was practicing witchcraft on their property. And so basically, like, the maids that would clean a room, the cleaners that would clean the room, it actually got to a point where they said, listen, we can't clean your room because there's animals everywhere. So what happens with magic and with certain stuff is that there was a lot of animals attracted to my room, like spiders, scorpions, lizards, all sorts of weird stuff. And it got to a point where they were all over my door. They were all over the house, like literally, like I'm not even joking. So people couldn't go into my room. It's like, dude, there are poisonous animals here that are coming into the room. Yeah, it was bad. So the Christian family, the one day, the owner sat me down and said, listen, I understand that you're a witness here, and I understand that you're going through all these stuff. I'll kick you out of this place. If you don't stop, I'm going to tell the police that we're not doing this anymore, because now you're scaring my staff. So I had to actually stop. And I had to get rid of all the animals and stuff, and then they could clean the room again. So it was quite an interesting time. I found that gardening and growing, that helped me a lot with the healing process internally. Okay. It helped me deal with stuff. So I grew a lot. So I love growing things. I love growing plants. I have a green thumb. So whatever I touch grows. So I grew a lot of cannabis then. They didn't come into my garden. So I just thought, well, you know what, whatever. So I grew a lot of cannabis. I grew a lot of veg that they actually used in their restaurant, like parsley for the garnish. I grew tomatoes, I grew cabbage, I grew spinach. I grew everything, and like it grew well. It grew really well. I actually landed up, like I found a way to get off the property, and Worcester's full of vineyards. So like I made friends with a lot of the colored people there. There's a huge colored community in Worcester. And because I could talk to nobody, because I could see nobody, I had to deal with it somehow. So I would sneak off to the vineyards, and I'd go make friends with the coloreds and drink beers with them and just talk crap.
If Adam and Trevor are locked up, why were you in witness protection?
To be honest with you, to this day I'll never fully understand it, but it was an interesting experience. So I don't fight it either. I mean, they had already known. I had already told them, listen, it was Adam and Trevor. There was nobody else attached to it. But like the one of the guys from the GLA, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance, he was big on, he was coming for me, and it was like gang related and all this. He was just talking out his ass. And there was just a whole lot of rumors circulating at the time, and the police weren't willing to actually take a chance. And because it was before the court cases, so they needed me alive. And so because of that, and my parents wouldn't have me in their house. They said, oh, hell, it's not going to happen. So they had to put me somewhere. So that's why I was in witness. That's what I believe.
Okay.
But like I said, it was an interesting experience.
And the physical recovery, I mean, did you have to go through a lot of surgeries and?
Yeah. Okay. They had to re-break my jaw. So there's a section of grooteskuur, and it's called maxillofacials. So maxillofacial is reconstructive surgery, specifically reconstructive surgery. So they had to re-break my jaw, and they had to rebuild it. So like there was a lot of surgery, man. The neck thing wasn't bad, but they had to make sure that my brain didn't swell, that I didn't have any brain death, things like that. So, and like I said, they had to rebuild. The jaw was a big one. They had to rebuild the jaw from scratch. So yeah, there was a lot of surgeries, and I had to take spatula spoons, and I had to put them in my mouth, and I had to work them up so I could actually open my mouth. Okay. For a long time, I had braces on the jaw. I had braces in my teeth. It was crazy. I had to suck stuff through a straw. It was the only way I could eat for a long time.
The court case happened. What was that experience like for you? I mean, there came that day where you had to see these guys, Adam and Trevor, for the first time since the incident. Do you have a recollection of that, of laying eyes on these guys for the first time?
It was nerve-wracking, and I was angry at that stage. Like, I was angry and I was hurt, and I was like, "Get these guys, bro! I want them to suffer." So I was righteously angry all the time when I'd see them. But it was cool. I mean, I was really lucky that Chris, my dad, was with me through every single court case. My mom didn't come to one of them, but my dad was with me through every single one of them. And yeah, it was long. It was tedious. It was like, and when they came up with the non-guilty thing, the not guilty thing, I was like, what? Screw you, bro. But I didn't understand that didn't take away from their sentence. It was something else. So I still don't fully comprehend why they said not guilty, but they still ended up getting like 9 consecutive life sentences, no possibility of parole. And basically, when they put me on the stand, one of their lawyers tried to attack me and say, "Yeah, but it's your fault, and like you were smoking weed. Are you sure you saw what you saw? Because weed makes you crazy." And I actually swore him. It was quite cool because Judge Nathan Erasmus also backed me. He said, "Listen here, A, he's not on trial. B, limit your questions. And C, weed doesn't make you crazy. It makes you stoned. It doesn't make you see things.
It makes movies funnier. Doesn't make things that crazy."
For sure. So like I actually tuned the lawyer. I actually climbed into the lawyer and I said, "You know what, go get screwed. You know, it's not me that did this, it's them. I didn't imagine this. This is not airy-fairy. I didn't imagine these two guys and then I myself end up killing everybody. It's not the way it worked." So he was just huff and puff, and it was over. But it was cool because the court case officially ended on my birthday in 2004, early 2004, because by mid-2004, I was already back in Knysna and I had already given my life to the Lord, and that's where I stayed for the next 20-odd years.
Okay.
So, like I said, it was 13 months. It was the beginning of 2003, like literally like Jan. It was December 2002, January 2003 that this whole thing, I woke up in hospital like in January of 2003. Yeah. And then the 13 months in witness protection, I was only a couple of months in hospital.
Okay.
Actually, it was like a month and a half. It was very quick, actually.
Yeah.
It was the re-breaking of the jaw that took a long time. That happened while I was in witness protection.
Okay.
That happened like at least a year after the actual shooting.
Sure.
Because they said that they said it was too dangerous to do it too quickly. Yeah. So that's what I was angry about. So like there would be a detective that would come pick me up every like week or every like 2 weeks and take me to the hospital, and I'd have more stuff done, and I'd sit there the whole day, and I'd have to go through all these tests and stuff until they eventually broke my jaw. And that was like a couple of months before I got out of witness protection. So I was still using the spatula and stuff when I was when the court cases were over. Yeah.
Okay, so just before, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the book now and about your kind of journey since then and the journey up to the book and writing the book, and you can talk to us a little bit about that process and. Yeah, hopefully we can encourage some folks to go out and get their hands on it as well. But Trevor Basil Tace was convicted of 9 murders and 1 attempted murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. He has applied for parole multiple times over the years. There are public petitions and opposition raised when these things come up. And the current position that he's still incarcerated with no confirmed release. And Adam Roy Vust, convicted alongside Tace of the same charges, also sentenced to life imprisonment. He's also come up for parole consideration, which has faced strong opposition from victims' families and the public, and is still incarcerated. But of course, we know in South Africa, Quinton, that there is no such sentence as life without parole. Obviously, this is a very high-profile case, and there are a lot of victims. So, I'm sure when the parole hearings come around, that there is plenty of.
I was there for the last parole hearing.
Are you?
It's funny you mention that. Because I was there for the last VOD.
Yeah, are you made aware of these things? Do they keep you in the loop, and how do you stay in the loop?
So we have a lawyer that actually, because one of the guys that was there, his sister. So what's it now? Lee Visser. So the Visser. So Warren Visser. Lee Visser and Warren Visser, brother and sister. Lee's in Canada at the moment. And we have a lawyer that deals with that with us. So whenever they hear that there's going to be a come up of whether they want them out of jail and stuff, we get told about it. So the last one was, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago, really. There's another one coming up soon. And we were there and we told them it's not going to happen. So that's quite interesting. So, that Trevor...
Carry on.
That Trevor, the colored guy, he's already dead. He died in prison. He died in prison he died in prison about, I don't know, close to 8 years ago already. He died in prison. He was the one that showed remorse. He was the one that was broken from the whole experience. Adam doesn't care. Adam has actually... Look, I'm happy for Adam that he's actually bettered himself in prison. He's actually studied, and he's the model prisoner. But so he wants to come home. He wants to come and see his mother. The thing is, his mother wants nothing to do with him, for one. I know that for a fact, because his mother's actually said that live. And the other thing is, we actually asked him, this VOD that happened like 3 or 4 years ago, I actually challenged him. I actually said, okay, so for the first time, explain to me why you actually did what you did. And he actually admitted in front of a panel of lawyers and psychologists and stuff, he actually admitted that his whole thing was he wanted to kill all the bad people in the world. So that's why he robbed us. He wanted the money so he could get more guns, so that he could kill more like gays and lesbians and all the bad people in the world. That was his thing. So he wants to be a vigilante. Okay. So anything he doesn't believe in, anything he believes is wrong, he wants to kill them all. When I asked him, has his vision changed? He actually said no. In front of a panel of lawyers and in front of psychologists, I just laughed. I said, this whole court case is a farce because the guy hasn't changed. He wants to go home to see mommy.
Look, the one thing that often we talk about, and Gerard will speak to this better than I, from being the probably the best forensic psychologist, one of the top on the planet. He will tell you that, the thing about these types of characters, if you are a psychopath or if you've got these kinds of traits, is that when you find yourself in the police system, that you typically are a model prisoner because you're very much suited to this type of environment where you're not exposed to a lot of your triggers, I guess, and you're in a very structured, regimented kind of environment. And so you get these guys who are serial murderers, who are locked up for 25, 30 years, And, when you're put in prison in South Africa, what I've told is that, when you go to prison, correctional services don't get a detailed copy of your docket. They don't necessarily know why you're in there. So after 30 years, you're typically finding that a lot of the, police, lawyers, professionals that were involved in the case are no longer in the system. And you've got these folks that have just got an amazing 25-year, 30-year model prisoner, great prison record. And we are talking a lot about how these folks are being let out, kind of people that shouldn't, from these psychologists' point of view, shouldn't be let out and are a danger. But you may have to confront this reality at some point.
Yeah, look, I mean, for as long as Adam's alive, for the rest of my life, this is the thing. The sad thing is he's actually made us a prisoner in a way, because every 4 to 6 years, his parole will come up, and he has a possibility of parole. And every 4 to 6 years, myself, all of us, we all have to now put everything down, and we all have to go and say, listen, this is not going to happen.
Yeah,
we're all against this. All the families have to get together and say, listen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then we have to go through the whole motion of telling him why and telling him who he is and what he's done. And the fact that he shouldn't be let out amongst the general pop, because he'll kill people. He's done it before. He'll kill people. And like I told, the last time, like I said, when this happened, the last VOD 4 or 5 years ago, I told the judge, if you do let him out, whatever he does, if he kills more people, it's solely on you. Because he was locked up, he was kept away from the world, and now you're trying to release him. So they took that into consideration. So his parole was denied, obviously. And like, it's crazy because like I've got a life for myself. I've built a life. And now every 4 to 5 years, I have to worry about whether the guy's going to get paroled.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. The whole police system is retarded.
Well, look, if I can give you some advice, you've really got to make sure that you stay on top of when those things come around as well, because there have been a number of incidents that we've come across where, family members want to actively stay involved, and in the history of a case have been very actively involved and state on a regular basis that if a parole hearing comes up, they need to be informed, etc., etc. And often the people won't be notified, and these things will just kind of slip through the system. So, you've got to actually proactively keep an eye on these things as well, because a parole hearing can pop up and you just don't know about it. So like I say, I know of instances where it almost feels like, there's been an intention to keep folks away from the parole hearing.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's scary. They do it behind your back. We only found out last time because of our lawyer, because she found out for us, and she's like, wow, that's not going to happen. So she got us all involved in stuff.
Yeah.
And we made a whole group on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and we were always in contact and stuff. So like, you are right. They actively don't want people to get involved in this, so they can release these people. The thing is, the problem is that the prisons are overcrowded in South Africa, and that each prisoner costs the state so much money. So when they can, they'll release prisoners as often as they can. But the problem is the people they're releasing, these people are killers.
No,
they're not maybe killers. They haven't reformed. When they triggered again, they'll kill. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier on, the only reason why they're doing so well in that system, in the model prison, is because they kept away from things that will trigger them. The moment they trigger, they go into full-blown serial killer mode.
Yeah.
And if I have to walk across Adam Voist one day, I'll lose it. I'll actually lose it. I'll end up smacking him with a brick or something. I'll end up doing something bad because he's not supposed to be out.
Yeah.
I understand that in this country you don't really have a life term. However, life is 25 years. It should be 20 to 25 years. There were 9 consecutive life terms. No possibility of parole. This is what High Court Judge Nathan Erasmus set down. Now, I understand that he's now retired and all these great things, and other judges have come in, but you can't just overturn another judge's ruling. It's not the way it works.
Well, the thing is that there's just not scope for such a ruling as without parole. You will always get a parole hearing. The system may want to keep you in prison if if all of the pieces are in place correctly, then absolutely. But unfortunately, as long as there is no such thing in South Africa as life without parole, we will have these issues to deal with. And then you layer on top of that all of the other challenges in the police service and with kind of law enforcement and, from the lawyers right through to the police, there's issues at every level. So you layer all of that together, and like I say, we're seeing some really, really potentially really troubling people people that we know historically have been troubling, but future potential troubling kind of being let back into society, which I agree with you is a big problem. Just a few more comments and questions, and then we'll talk a little bit about the book. And we've been going now for, an hour and 90 minutes already, so we'll start to wrap up in a minute. Quinton from Pepe Picas. Quinton, I'm listening and so pleased you have finally published your book, Love Always.
Now, Pepe Picas, let me just say quickly, Pepe Picas, I've known her since I was 2 years old. I'm 48 now. I've known her for 46 years. She was one of the house parents in the children's home that fought for me. I love her to bits. She's beautiful. Thank you, Pepe.
There we go. See, this is why doing the live is so nice, man, because we just get to kind of connect a little bit to the real world. It's not just content slapped on the screen. We actually get to hang out with folks. That police barracks in Norwood has seen some serious tragedy. Yes, of course, that was the hunting ground of our Norwood serial killer. Why has his name slipped my mind now? Anyway, the Norwood serial killer. It'll come to me in a minute or two.
So there was a Norwood serial killer.
Yeah. He actually lived there at the police barracks around the time that we were in Orange Grove, Quinton. So it was the late 80s, early 90s.
Wow.
And basically sneaking into women's apartments in Norwood and killing them. Yeah, the Norwood serial killer. You can go back and watch some of the episodes on the channel. We've done some great shows on that.
I'm going to.
Quibus Geldenes. There we go.
From Ryan Nell.
Yes. Hi, Quinton from Ryan Nell.
Hey, there buddy. Glad you're watching. Nice. That's from Neisner, by the way.
Oh, there we go. One of your Neisner homies.
Yeah, I know him as well. I've known him for like 20 plus years.
Look, there are worse places in the world to spend 20 years in than Neisner, I can tell you that.
Yep.
With so many people online, this is a good question. With so many people online telling your story, is there anything currently out in the public domain that you believe is false, misleading, or you feel needs correcting?
Yeah, there are a few. That's actually an interesting question. That's very interesting. I've actually gone on to Google to research, and some of the stuff is just rubbish. People like to make money off other people's stories, and there's no difference with my story as well. I knew that this would happen, but at the same time, they don't get much traction. So some people just talk stuff. Some people have got stuff on about the Sizzlers Massacre, but they've never, ever spoken to me about it. The righteous people that have spoken to me, like the podcast we're on now, like places like Third Degree, for example, the Deborah Patter interview, there are some that have actually done their due diligence and they've done their homework. And theirs is righteous. Theirs is cool. But a lot of them, they just suck stuff out their complete ass. They have no cooking clue as to what they're talking. There is some. It is what it is, yeah. It doesn't offend me, it doesn't affect me. It's like whatever, bro. Because, like I said, they get so little traction that not many people see it. So I look at the numbers of people that have viewed the interview and I just laugh. It's like, okay, cool, 1,000 people. And, 1,006 people after 8 years. It's like, whatever, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll always be some, it's like that with every single story. I don't know if you guys remember one of the girls. There was a lady in, I forget her, Allison, who was raped by Satanists, and her throat was cut, and she was almost gutted. Her bowels were out. She had to hold her bowels in. She had to actually hold her head because every time she took her hand away, her neck would fall back and throat would open. Even on her story, there's some people that just suck stuff out their ass. They always do that. It's what it is. It is what it is. People want stories. Yeah. But like I said, it doesn't really get traction. So.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it is a compelling story. I do think, though, that, what I find fascinating about these kinds of things is I think it's an interesting glance into a moment in time and a particular community and a particular group of people and, the kind of how dark experiences can get for people. There's an interesting kind of cultural context where you find yourself in the world, the nature of crime where you find yourself. But yeah, look, it is interesting that there's become a much, like true crime has become a really popular genre. It does speak to a kind of a morbid fascination that people have with the macabre, but it's also the depths of how far we can go as humanity and how kind of dark it can get, isn't it?
Yeah, people can be rough, man. People can be very rough. The one of the commenters earlier on, Carrie, she also works with true crime stories and stuff. And I mean, Nicole Engelbrecht as well. There's so many. True crime, like you say, has become a very popular genre. And yeah, it speaks to the dark nature of humans. And look, we can get pretty dark, man.
Through these stories, you also get a real good view of the challenges in society and what some of the problems are. You know, we're constantly talking about the challenges with the police and, you know, the issues there. And, you know, it's weird because we'll have these incredible cops on with these 30, 40-year careers who've done amazing things, and they really represent excellence in that field. But then so much of the public perception is negative when it comes to policing because, for good reason, because, you know, your average everyday cops are out there, you know, not necessarily serving the community well and not necessarily serving them for the right reasons.
Paul, it's like you just said. Sorry for the interruption. It's like you just said. There are these super cops that do so well and have a history in their work of excellence. Unfortunately, more often than not, there are these cops that are completely corrupt and haven't done anything in 40 years. They haven't freaking done anything. And that's the sadness of it. And that's why the public needs to know that there are brilliant cops. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And they've just got to take the good with the bad, man. I think cops get a bad rap. I think that to be a cop, especially in this country, is brutal because the salaries are also so little. I mean, you're talking about a captain's salary, and on a captain's salary, you're making about 10K, if that. You know, you're making 10K. You're not taking home 10K. You're probably taking home close to 8. And this is for putting your life on the line every single day. I mean, that's a captain's salary. A normal police's salary, you're looking at about 6 or maybe 7. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. The CCID that works here in Cape Town, I've spoken to some of the officers and they've told me straight to my face, if a gangster gives me 1,000 rand, I will look the other way on any crime.
Yeah.
Because I don't get paid enough.
Look, this is why there are so many like generals at the police now. Gerard will often say, Gerard, I think says that there are more generals in the police now than there were generals in the combined Allied forces during World War II. Because, you know, if everyone, let's all be generals, let's all have really high, you know, that's a higher salary bracket. You know, and these guys. But not
do any work.
But they're not necessarily doing the work, exactly.
It's crazy.
The book. I want to talk about the book. How did the book happen?
Okay, so it first happened through a friend of the family. So after the shooting, like shortly after the shooting, I don't even remember her name. A friend of my mom's. My mom's name is Jenny. So a friend of Jenny's was an author. And she said, okay, cool, let me write a book for you. So I was like, okay, cool. And she had the book for about 10 years and she did nothing with it. It didn't publish. She didn't do squat with it. So about 10 years ago, I took it back from her. And I said, listen, I'm rewriting the book. I'm done. I'm done waiting. There's just nothing. It's not doing anything. And it's taken me like 10 years, 12 years actually almost. The thing is, when you're writing a story like this, it's not as easy as people think. Like, a normal story you can get out in a weekend, man. A normal book you can get out within like a couple of weeks maybe. But when you're writing a book about yourself, that's an autobiography, and you've had as colorful a life as mine, it's very different. What I find is, in my own experience, I've had to write, and then I can only write for a certain amount of time, and then I get blocked completely. I can't write anymore. I literally have to go dump on a person. So I have to go empty everything that's inside of me before I can write again. Otherwise, I hit writer's block. So like for 10 years, for example, while living in Protea Guest House, while managing and running this guest house, I got to write a lot. My book's been finished for a long time. I haven't been able to edit it and publish it because I haven't had the money. It's only now, since AI, for example, where I've been able to edit it easily. AI edits your stuff brilliantly. And now, because of AI, even stuff like ChatGPT and Claudia, you can edit your stuff and it's brilliant. And you can put it together and piece it together and just do incredible stuff. And a friend of mine has helped me get it published on KDP, Amazon. If it wasn't for people that were around me, that loved me and that supported me, I wouldn't have gotten it published. I wouldn't have been able to. Like I said, financially, it's a lot more than people think. Just to get your book edited by a professional editor, you're looking at 30, 40K. Then you got a book cover, you got this, you got that, you got that. But like I said, now with Amazon, with AI, it's a joke.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that actually works with computers. He actually reads computer code, and he has that skill so that he could help me. I don't have the skill. I'm not computer literate. I mean, the first computer I got, I was in my 30s. I didn't grow up with PCs, and I mean, I was born in 78. We didn't grow up with all those things. The first cell phone I got, I was like in my early 30s as well. We were in the home. You don't grow up with that stuff. You don't see that stuff. So it's been people that have helped me along the way. But the book's been finished for a long time. But like I said, for me, it was very hard because of the story that I've written. And I've tried to go, like, the book that I've released is actually only half the book. There's a second part to it. So this is the first part of my life, the first part of the journey, my life growing up, everything that led to the Sizzlers Massacre, and a little snippet of Knysna, a little taste of Knysna, a little taste of my salvation. But then there's been 22 years otherwise where I've done crazy stuff. In the 22 years that I've been saved, I've gone through crazy stuff. And this is also to help people better understand my journey and what it means to be a victor, not a victim, to have that mindset. No matter what happens to you, whether you're raped, whether you're shot, well, it doesn't matter. If you have a victim mindset, you actually beat those people that did it to you because you become more. Somehow something happens and you're propelled. You're propelled into something. You can make a book. You can become a podcaster. You can become a motivational speaker.
I hear you.
But as a victim,
but there is
you become a horrified.
But there is real trauma there as well, isn't there? I mean,
yeah, there is. But that's something you have to deal with. And you can. From a victor, again, this is why having a victor mindset is so powerful, because from that mindset, you can start dealing with all the damage that's been done to you by this traumatic experience that's happened to you. When you have a victim mindset, you will never deal with that stuff. You'll blame the world, you'll blame everybody, and you'll just be a freaking broken person, a hobbled person. But when you come from a victor's mindset, it's like, dude, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do this to me. Other people did. And you know what? I'm going to deal with it. And I'm going to make myself better so that I can show them, you lose, I win, because you didn't break me.
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing, is people need to have that mindset. South Africans are powerful people. The stuff that we've gone through as a nation, we're a powerful people. And I'm not talking about the rest of the world. I'm talking about South Africa. We are the Rainbow Nation. We've gone through crazy stuff. And we're even going through crazy stuff now. We as a people are powerful, and we need to rise up in that power. And God is always for this nation. I believe that Africa is a very blessed nation of God. I believe that 100%. There have been a lot of prophecies from many powerful people of God over Africa over the decades. Africa is very blessed. That's why we have the most beautiful landscape in the world. We have crazy stuff. We have crazy beauty in this country, regardless of the crazy badness.
You know, the truth is that South Africans are a vast array of different peoples and cultures and languages, etc. Now there is the component that we've heard a lot of in the last 30 years of, you know, that diversity is strength, that it's such a positive thing, that it's such a wonderful thing. But, you know, human nature also does say that, you know, differences really do divide us. You know, typically, if you look throughout history, if there's two tribes living across the river from each other, chances, you know, it's often more likely that they're going to be fighting each other for who gets the bridge, as opposed to getting together and you know, living in peace and harmony.
Well,
how do we overcome that as South Africans? How do we realize that our differences are not just blindly good for us, that they are actually something we need to be aware of, that we are different, and we need to overcome that kind of proactively?
Well, you know what? You know what? You're not wrong about that at all. And apartheid shows that you're not wrong about that at all. However, even with the ANC being just like retarded in the way they're handling stuff at the moment, we're still a rainbow nation, and we can still walk down the streets. Look, this whole xenophobia thing is quite sad. But before the whole xenophobia thing that's just popped up again, and been spurred on again, we as South Africans, we are one of the most diverse countries in the world, and we haven't killed each other. I mean, to such a degree that the whole country is just in shambles and broken. There's a lot of things that we do have to change for sure, but there's also a lot of ways when you look at it that we do so well in. I mean, we have done so well in so many different things. I believe that South Africa is a very strong. I believe that South Africa is a very strong country, and it breeds strong people. I've always believed that. I mean, maybe I'm just like biased. It's in my country. Of course, I'm biased. But like I said again, the secret to I believe personally having a fulfilled life, regardless of what you've gone through, or regardless of how hard your life has been, is having that kind of mentality, is having a victor mentality. For me, the biggest thing is having a strong mind, a strong mentality. And like I said, there's too many victims. There's so many agoraphobes. There's so many people that are broken by the system, and it's not a nice thing. There's no strength there. There's no strength of character. There's no strength. So I, in my own self, want to promote strength of character. Through this whole experience, the one thing that I've learned is strength of character. And you can build, you can grow, you can become, and you can deal with all the stuff that's happened to you. You can, because I've done it.
Yeah.
And if I've done it, anybody can do it, because I've had a crazy life.
Absolutely. There's also that thing of, when it comes to your spirituality, whether you choose to be a Christian or a Muslim or a whatever, or a Wicca or whatever, it's about pulling out these things are typically underpinned by really good, strong values. So whether you want to go to church on a Sunday or not, it's still prudent to kind of, if you don't want to do that, it's still a good idea to understand what these ideas and what these values are that people who are Christians or people who are Muslims, that they kind of hold dear as at the kind of center of their faith.
The values are strong, like you said. Because the values are strong. The value of love, the value of kindness, the value of having a spirit of excellence in your work. Those are all values. The value of being strong-minded, of knowing your place within the universe, of like I said again, and I'll say this and I'll reiterate this a lot of times, is having a victor mentality, a victor mindset. I'm an alpha male. I'll always be an alpha. I've always been an alpha, even before I was shot. But now more so than ever, you have to. Otherwise, you're going to be broken.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've met so many people that have gone through such little, and they're broken. It's like, how can you be broken? You've gone through nothing. And you're agoraphobe?
Yeah.
You can't even step out of your house. What the heck's that about? And I don't feel pity for these people. I actually feel angry for them.
Look, it's very hard to be a friend of yours, I'm sure, and be like, oh man, I had a shitty day today. It's like, let me tell you about a shitty day.
No. Well, the beautiful thing is, my life before 2004, that's why I actually value the experience. That's why Sizzlers doesn't break me. It makes me happy that I actually had the experience. Look, it was a crap experience, hands down, but it transformed my whole life. Before that, I had known people very differently. I had known people as abusive, people as just nasty on every day. I didn't like people. I hated people. I was very introvert. After the shooting, everything changed. After I gave my life to God, for example, everything changed. Everything changed. I became more extroverted. My whole character, my whole personality shifted. I became more extrovert. And the people that surrounded me were incredible people, people of value, people of substance, people of strength. And man, I'm often like, dude, I want to be like that, bro. I want to be that strong, bro. It's and that's what I want. There's a saying: if you want to be rich, be with rich people, have rich friends. Yeah. So if you want to be strong, have strong friends.
I also just want to say as well, from the point of view of of the victims of this incident. I mean, you must feel a certain responsibility to them as well. That, I mean, if you're the one person that's chosen to, for whatever reason, has survived this ordeal, you know, you're the one left behind to kind of do the best with your life on their behalf, and to a, you know, in a sense.
You know what?
Do you feel that? Do you feel that? Do you ever think about that kind of, you know, what do you feel when you reflect on the victims kind of today and their families? And
I will never ever understand fully why I was chosen to survive and everybody else was chosen to die. I mean, there were a lot of good people there, solid people, but it is what it is. And yeah, for sure, you feel a natural inclination to do well, not only for yourself, but for the people that came before you. Again, this is why I wrote the book, is to encourage people, to motivate people, to show them that no matter how broken your life is, it will be all right. Just be strong and don't let the world knock you around. Don't be weak as a person. Don't blame everybody for everything. Take some responsibility on yourself and make yourself better. And you can. I mean, I work on myself all the time. You have to work on your own character, your own personality. And it will make a way for you. It will always make a way for you. And you'll be happier. You'll be happy. You'll be stronger from it, and you'll be able to live more freely. I'm free. I'm not riddled with fear. And that's my greatest weapon, is that I'm not riddled with fear. I'm free as a person. I can walk, and I know my own strength. I know who I am as a person. And through working on yourself, and like I said, you know, to have those values of love, the values of respect, the values of, you know, and those are values that God instills inside of us. And to operate within those values, it changes you. I mean, I will always be a man of God. I will always defend the kingdom, and I'll always be for the kingdom, because I know. Because I've seen what I've seen. And once you've seen what you've seen, you can't unsee it. Regardless of what other people think. And I know other people don't always like the fact that there's like, you know, Christians are like, oh, they're so self-righteous. And we've gotten it wrong. Over the decades, Christians have messed up a lot. But there's a lot that doesn't mean that the faith that we have is wrong. It just means that we're human. We mess up. But that doesn't mean that our God's not real. It doesn't mean that our faith isn't powerful. It just means that people mess up. And you know, I've even been in the situation where our church split. I don't serve people, I serve God. So I don't get offended. I don't have to walk away in offense. I don't have to do all those things. I don't have to cause hatred. I don't have to cause bitterness. I serve God. I don't serve people. I never have.
Yeah.
And so it's believing in those core beliefs. And like I say, the victim mentality is everything. That's why I keep on going back to it. It starts with that. You have to have a victor mentality. You can't have a victim mentality. You can't.
Well,
you won't go. You'll be broken. You won't go anywhere.
Well, Robbie McCain agrees. I also feel like living a great life is a big fuck you to the people who did you so wrong. I think I agree with that.
Amen.
Quinton,
Amen.
Your strength and victor mentality is admirable. God bless you.
Thank you.
From my mother, wonderful show. You're a very special person, Quinton, and I wish you the best in all your future endeavors. There's my mom there. And then Lauren.
Thank you very much.
Lauren, why are we talking about ANC and xenophobia? Can we stick to the actual subject? I'm sorry, Lauren. We've annoyed Lauren a bit. I'm sorry, Lauren. We get it. You know, it's live. It's our weekly chat. We can go a little bit left and right sometimes. That's the nature of this particular format. So sorry, Lauren. Hope we're back on track now. And Lauren Lauren also corrected us, and I appreciate this. Just to dispel misinformation, a captain in the SAPS earns between 23,300 and 33,300 per month as of 2025-2026, which isn't bad.
Okay, that's pretty cool. The captains I know make a heck of a lot less.
Yeah,
but that's pretty cool. I mean, that's not bad. I mean,
yeah. But anyway, apologies if we meander a little bit there, Lauren. But a little bit looser on the live, like I say. So. I mean, Quinton, we've never gone this long on the live. We're nearly at 2 hours. So I told you at the beginning how quickly it was going to fly by. I'm pretty much down to my last question. Before I get to that, just your kind of pitch for why this book is a good read, and what people are going to take away from it, and just where exactly, reminder where we can all get our hands on it.
Okay, so I have the new book out. I Don't Want to Die is the real story. It's not some fiction. It's not some make believe fantasy or anything. This is a true thing. So this is my whole life. So you can find it in Amazon.com or Amazon.uk as well. You can find it in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And yeah, I mean, what this book has been designed to do is so that you can relate to the people that went through what they went through, so that you can relate to me and my whole life, so that you can see through. That's why it's in a first person, so that you can experience it through my eyes. That was why the book was designed. It's also designed to encourage people and to motivate people and to show people that no matter how screwed up their life is, they just need to believe. They need to believe for one, and they need to, again, it's all about that victor mindset. It's about kind of thing. No matter what the world throws at me, it's all good. Screw you kind of thing. I'm moving forward. You ain't going to break me. And it's also about finding your own peace. And there's the first part of my life, or the first half of my life, has been a terrible experience. But the last half, the last 22 years especially, has been incredible. It has been one of the most incredible journeys. I've been through crazy stuff, and I've seen crazy stuff. And it's exciting, and life is exciting. I have that excitement again. And man, it's just about sticking with it. It's just sticking to your guns and not letting anybody hurt you. Not letting anybody hurt you to the point that you break, basically. Yeah. Nothing can break you. As a person, nothing can break you. Nothing should be able to break you to the point that you're ineffective for the people around you, for yourself. It shouldn't happen.
Well, I mean, I think you've pretty much answered. My last question was going to be for someone who's watching, who kind of going through their own version of this kind of darkness. What do they need to understand about survival?
God loves you, hey? God loves you, regardless of whether you believe it or not. Is irrelevant. First of all, the first thing you need to believe is that God, and the first thing you need to know is that God loves you. The second thing that you need to know is, no matter whether you're in a dark place right now, look for the light, bro. Look for the light. There is light, I guarantee you. For in the darkest nights, the dawn must come. So there's always light. And just have a victor mentality. Develop a victor mentality. So that no matter what hurts you, no matter who hurts you, you can literally say, this is how I show you fuck you. Yeah. I'm going to walk free anyway. Sorry for my language. I'm going to walk free anyway. And there's nothing you can do that can break me. And this is how you honor yourself. And you show the world, we are powerful creatures, as well as we're dark and we're morbid and we can do bad things. But there is also beauty within us all, every single one of us. Every single one of us has the exact same mentality, or has the ability to adopt and to bring to life that same mentality, that victim mentality, that no matter what happens, it's all good. It's fine, like water off a duck's back. I just move forward from it, and I grow from it, and I become more. Because when you use it that way, you do become more. That's the beauty of it. You actually become stronger as a person. And that's what I want to tell people and encourage people in. You become stronger. I'm stronger now than I ever was before.
Yeah.
Before the Sizzlers, I was something else. Now I'm something else. And it's worthwhile.
Quinton, I mean, it's been wonderful catching up with you for the last 2 hours. I really appreciate you taking the time. Wow. And I really hope that we can, I'm sure we'll help sell a few more books as well. So everyone get out. I'm going to be getting my copy. I've got this growing book list. I'm going to need counseling just for all the true crime books I'm going to be reading in the next couple of months, I think. You can always do 2 hours. I don't mind, says KBP75SA. Well, thank you, KBP. We appreciate you. Glad if you've stuck around for the whole 2 hours, then we really do appreciate you. If you've stuck with us till the end of the show, thank you for doing that. Quinton, look, I mean, my final thoughts are, like I say, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time. I will put information I'll put links in the description as well as to where people can go to get the book and what have you. So you'll see that I will tidy up the episode and repost by tonight for the morning, and on that version of the episode I'll make sure that the relevant information is there. I mean, folks at home, I would say that if you're having a bad day, you're not having that bad a day. Think about Quinton. You're not having that bad a day. And just thank you so much for taking the time, Quinton.
Thank you for having me on your show. It's been a privilege and a blessing. And just remember, there's always people that have it way worse than you, that are on the streets, and even they can be happy. So be happy. Be Victor.
Look, I think what your story shows is something we don't talk about enough. Survival isn't the moment you walk out of the room. It's everything that comes after. Yeah. Every day. Yeah. Thank you for sharing it, Quinton. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you again this time next week. Next week we've got Detective Darnie Hall is going to be joining us on the show. So I'm sure you might have read about Darnie Hall in the various cases over the years, but he'll be joining us next week. So do tune in for that. Quinton, thank you so much. Stay well, and all the best for you in the book. Whatever we can do to help, that's our little true crime community. We're here to lift one another up and to tell our stories and hopefully make a little bit of a difference along the way.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Quinton.
This has been such a privilege.
And as I always say at the end, folks, trust nobody.
In a country where 83 people are murdered every day, knowing the minds of killers isn't curiosity, it's survival. Subscribe to Profiler Africa now. It's free. Or become a member and help keep the channel alive. Remember, trust nobody.